Call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock p.m. There's two ways out of the room tonight. One is behind the audience out onto the town green. The other is to the right of the audience, down the stairs and into the parking lot. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Guy on TV doesn't stand. Roll call.
Roll call.
Special meeting February 9th, Andrew Obanowitz.
Here.
Mary Ann Turner here. Charlie Mastroverdi not here. Rich Stroney.
Here.
Christine Bedoni.
Here.
And Jim Byrne.
Here.
All's playing. We have a full house. You need to seat.
Yeah, when we get to the hearing. So we have nothing under old business, new business. Please,
Legal
you have the
notice.
legal notice, okay.
The Enfield Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at their special meeting on Monday, February 9th, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following application. ZBA 2026-0109, 75 Oliver Road, application for a variance seeking relief of section 4.10.2, cellar and foundation requirements Huron Homes LLC, applicant owner, map 47, lot 63, R44 zone.
Thank you. And for the record, two things. First, we're going to be seating Jim tonight because Charlie is not here. And second, I'm going to read the variance statement into the record before we get going. A variance can be granted where such grant will not affect the overall purpose of the zoning ordinance and where strict interpretation of the ordinance will result in a hardship. A hardship exists where the zoning ordinance uniquely affects a parcel of land differently from other properties, and where use of the property or reasonable use of the land would be impossible without the variance. Self-imposed or financial hardships cannot by law be considered as a reason for granting a variance. And with that, the applicant come forward. Thank you for the loan.
Hey, good evening. Attorney William Case here with Reinhardt.
We need you to sit and then yell.
Yeah, turn the mic
Sit
on
and
too,
then yell.
please.
Attorney William. Hi, Attorney William Case, Case and Case PC. I'm here with the applicant, Huron Homes. Also coming in by Zoom is Jim Spotnik from Catzert and George.
I can't hear you. Is the red
Catzert
button
and
down?
Jones. Yes.
Okay, maybe I'm just.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not used to the microphone. I believe you all had a chance to review the submission from the town that was pretty comprehensive. This is a request from a variance from section 10 for, sorry, let me get my notes. Uh, 410-2 cellar and foundation requirements. We're seeking a request to build the house at 75 Oliver Road using a slab on grade instead of the required foundation. The reason for this request is because of the unique nature of the property. There's an extremely high water table there, as well as a lot of the site being wetlands. So the impact of that requirement would potentially affect the basement. A footing drain system wouldn't be as effective there. I can let our engineer speak to some of the hydraulic issues at play here. It's very unique. There's not any other land in this area that is situated in the same way. The granting of this is a reasonable use of the land. It's a single lot. In a single lot subdivision, R44 zone, and the development will be in harmony with the neighborhood. There won't be any visible distinction between the house built on slab on grade and the neighboring houses that are built in accordance with the regulation. I'm here with the Reinhard von Hollander, if he wants to speak quickly on the application, or we can turn it over to Jim, who can run you through the application real quick.
At this point, it's Reinhard von Hollander, Heron Homes, South Windsor. We're just going to turn it over to Jim and let him do his presentation.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Can't barely see
Excellent.
you.
Let me see if I.
That's better.
Okay, good. I would like permission to share my screen.
Can you do yes, go ahead, I guess. Staff, you have
Okay,
the
sir.
ability to allow him that?
Okay. Hopefully you can see the wetlands narrative modification request on the board.
Yep.
Can you see the mouse when I move it around?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Excellent. I'd like to go forward to a letter I created.
We have a copy of this letter.
Good. Because this here summarizes the geologic hardship that exists on this site. And that is the wetlands exist, and wetlands by definition have high groundwater through a large portion of the year. And the site is relatively flat, gentle grades. So even though the house is built on uplands, just below the level of the land, there is groundwater. Now, many houses in Enfield are built into soils where there's groundwater, and they are able to install footing drains to drain the water. That works if you were on ground where there's like a hill and there is elevation for you to connect the pipes to drain the water. That works when you have a perched water table. We do not have a perched water table on this property. In fact, it could be considered something like an underground lake. And that lake gets close to the surface where the site has wetlands. But that same lake effect exists just below the ground level on the uplands. So that it is not wise or prudent to expect footing drains to reliably work during all seasons of the year. And this geology doesn't exist in many areas of Enfield, but it does exist on this here lot. And allowing a house to be built slab on grade, especially a house that is not zoning max. It kind of looks like a standard colonial in many ways from the street, and it 2 stories and a roof, but it's not near something that would be permitted as of zoning, where you could have a full basement, a walkout, a first story, second story, and roof on half of the lot, with the other half with a basement, which will often occur when you have a very steep slope. So again, going to some of the issues, you can see there's a lot of indications where, we were concerned about wetlands, a lot of indications of where we were putting pipes and stuff. So there was a lot of engineering done a lot of engineering done around this house in order to keep it dry from the wetlands, which kind of encompasses most of the lot. The driveway leaves Oliver Road. It rises a little bit to go over this pipe, drops down a little bit to a low point, and then rises up to the garage level. Taking advantage of the existing grades to the extent possible. Then we have a slab at that elevation and work above it. So here you can see the side of the house, the gentle slopes, how the house looks like from the street. Here is your gentle driveway, two-car garage, a room at this level, and then a typical family up above with the roof. So it definitely looks like a typical colonial from the street. And again, here you can see what we're talking about, the wetlands area in the middle, the road, and then the gentle driveway going up to the house. And this house is set well above what would be considered the 100-year floodplain, but that is surface water. Surface water has nothing to do with underground water, where we have a situation where had we put a basement here, it would be very difficult to maintain that basement dry, which is not proper construction.
Keep the garage dry.
Not a problem, because I have engineered, first of all, I know where the 100-year floodplain is, nowhere near us. I know where water would pond on both sides of this little gravel area, a gravel area on the uphill side, a gravel area on the downhill side. And this driveway, it does pitch up, and there would never be surface water anywhere near the elevation of the slab on this garage. And since the garage slab slopes in all directions and the house slopes in all directions away, there is plenty of ability for the surface water to go down the driveway, enter into this wetland system, and continue south on its way to the Connecticut River.
You have underground pipes under that swale? Or that?
Yes,
pond?
yes, there is a pipe right where the hand is, and it goes underneath the driveway, and it continues to the left down the road. There is a pipe. You just can't see it in this picture.
This is pretty wet. Is that it?
Is that, yeah, are you guys finished with the presentation, or?
Yes, and I'd like to point out that the garage is as high as the road. So, you know, the road can stay dry. There's no reason why the garage can't stay dry.
We're here to answer any questions.
Make sure your mic is on.
We're here to answer any questions the commission might have, or the staff.
With that, questions of the commission?
I gotta be honest. How did you build a house without coming in front of us first? Because you're here asking for forgiveness. You should have been in front of us, I don't know, before you even made a driveway.
I understand that. We thought that we had satisfied the 50%, coverage, foundation coverage.
But the documents I looked at said you were building a raised ranch. You didn't build a raised ranch. Then I saw that, and again, I don't know how field, but I know there has been some cease and desist on this project. And now I go by, your house has got a roof on it, so you've built it, and now you're sitting in front. You do know what ZBA's job is, right?
We came in front of wetlands. We got wetlands approval with the same plan. It was I think town staff may be able to speak to it a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, first I'd like to introduce, for those of you who do not know, Stephen Heine. He's one of our assistant town planners. He covers the Wetlands Commission, and he was the one that was involved with the wetlands application. So I'll let him have a little conversation with you, and I also could have comment later.
Thank you, Lori. So, I wasn't here for the first approval that this application received, but I do believe it came before the Wetlands Commission in sometime during the summer of 2024, where they had gone before them and received their approval. In the time between then and this past year, the applicant had gone out into the field and started construction, where at that point, that's when we had noticed that the foundation didn't quite meet the regulations.
Didn't quite, or didn't at all?
It didn't meet the regulations, no. So at that point, we had a meeting with the applicant over the summer to figure out how to rectify once they had received the cease and desist order, which we had informed them that a variance would be the best path, but they also chose to also include the wetlands as a part of their correction for the violation. And since then, they had gone back to the Wetlands Commission during the fall of 2025. They got the grading for what you see today approved by the Wetlands Commission. And so now they are on the next step of the process and correcting the violation by
Is the house already built?
Well, yes, what you are seeing on the screen is pretty accurate to what's out there today. But they are seeking to correct the violation with the variance as part of their request.
Are you done?
Lori wants to.
Oh, yeah, Lori, do you want to say something?
So it seems that what happened is Mr. Van Hollander was building this. He had his wetlands approval. And as he built it, he realized that there was this high groundwater, basically the sub lake, as it's been referred to. And he originally had a cellar, and then he changed his plans because of the high water table. I think he was mistaken and did not quite understand what the process was, and so he never came in to have it modified officially. So had he done so at the time that he realized that there was high groundwater and he couldn't really build a basement, that is when he should have come in to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance. I mean, the hardship being, if he builds a basement, it will flood. So unfortunately, there was a lot of iterations here and there throughout the last year, I guess, and this is the last of his attempt to fix the situation.
So how do we know that this house is built? Where's the building people? I mean,
I did ask them today if the footings and the foundation were inspected, and they were inspected and approved. And I asked them about the slab, and the slab there's no requirement for the slab to be reviewed per se, or inspected is the proper term. So the foundation and the footings have been approved by building department.
But there are no footing drains because it'll flood. What are you doing in spite of that? What are you doing to keep the water out of this house?
As the engineer indicated, that the grade, and I don't have the grades in front of me, the grades at the street level, if you look at a side profile, the street level, I think is Jim, if correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like a 77 or an 80, whatever the spot grade is at the street, at the gutter of the street. The house, actually, to answer your question, the house slab is probably at least a foot above the street elevation. He just brought the plan up.
Yeah, but we can't see it in front of us. There we go.
There we go.
So the driveway comes off the road, has a slight, it goes down slightly, the way it was engineered and passed based on the wetlands and the engineering department. And then it gradually goes back up and ends up significantly, I think, about 1.5 feet higher than the street elevation. And so it sits back and above. All the water that sheds comes in order to create, so I'll give you a little bit more history. In order to create the sight line, the trees had to be cleared out in an area that was already collecting water. The watershed from Post Office Road all the way down Oliver all ends up in this gutter. And the engineering that went into the road portion of it and the driveway portion of it was pretty significant. We had to tie both areas in together across the driveway. And the wetlands was also cognizant of the fact, or aware of the fact, and wanted to be aware of the fact that the driveway and the house was significantly above any area that could get impacted by any water. So there has been, it's completely dry. It's been completely dry. We had a really wet fall. And obviously we've been really, we've had a lot of snowfall. And, I'm at that job because I have other houses in the area. So I'm by there pretty often, and the water is collecting exactly the way it was engineered to collect. And so from that perspective, it's been successful. And the house hasn't had any impacts at all.
Has anyone been to you? Have you been inside this house and walked around and looked at it?
I have not been inside the house, but I have seen the house after rain events, as Mr. Reinhardt has mentioned, and the water does pool down by the drainage basins, as the engineer mentioned earlier.
Right, I've seen it too, and it goes right across the driveway. So I'm just curious, have you been inside since we have had rain to see if it's not there?
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Go ahead.
we actually have no right to actually enter
Right.
the building, so we wouldn't do that as a regular
Maybe not you.
Inspection.
Would the building department
building
go in?
department. They said that as
They
far as
must
they
have
know,
to
it's, the
inspect.
footings and things are good, so.
Yeah, but that would have been when they were putting in the slab, right?
So
I-
there's been no water that's come even close to the slabs, not even like close. There's no water that's come across the driveway. The driveway has been completely dry the entire time. We excavated all the material out that's around the house because we had a restriction on what we could remove from the site, and placed a heavy gravel material, porous gravel material into that area, and brought it to the grade that's what I would consider to be subgrade. And the design of the engineers is working very well. The house hasn't had any water at all. And like I indicated, we had a pretty heavy fall as far as rain events go. I mean, we had multiple events that were over 2 inches. And I went to this site multiple times during those 2-inch events just to see how the site was responding to the rain events that we were getting. And we had some pretty high impact rains in a very short time period. So having had gone through that with wetlands and a meeting upcoming in that, I wanted to be able to speak to that. And listen, water's nothing that as a builder you want to have to deal with. It's not something that we ask our clients or our customers to deal with. This site has been very well engineered, and I'm very confident that there's not going to be a water issue here now or in the future.
Mr. Chairman, I'm still confused why you're here today. You've already built the house. You've already had cease and desist, and from what I understand, 2. You're going back to inlands and wetlands for some other stuff right now. Your house is already built, and now you're in front of us asking you for a variance to build a house without a basement, which by 410-2, if you were a modular home, you could have got that, but you're not. You're a regular stick-built home, correct? And I'm assuming that you're a builder for how long?
Multiple years.
So you know the rules. I just find it, I'm always very uncomfortable with forgiveness.
Anything further, Mary Ann?
I wanna know, do you-
Our staff has something she'd like to
Sorry.
share, if it's okay.
So I would hope that we could all have confidence in our building department, which I certainly do. And if there was any water issues or anything of that nature, they would not grant a CO. We are here tonight because they are seeking a variance to not put in a basement or a cellar, which is required by zoning regulations because of the high water table. They are asking for it in a little bit of a late time frame. I grant you that. However, had they come in a year ago, once they realized that the high water table was not going to allow them to build a cellar, they would have been here then.
Did you know you couldn't build a cellar a year ago?
It was unclear whether or not we
You must have
could.
brought your big excavator in. When did you decide you couldn't put a basement in?
It was during the process.
And you didn't think of saying, oh, baby. So I have a question. You said your building department's all on board. Do we have a letter from them stating that it's all good, so we can put it in the
No,
record?
that's not normal procedure.
That doesn't mean that I
No,
can't.
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
No, I have nothing from them. I did speak to them about the footings and the foundation at like 4:45 this afternoon.
That would be one of the things that I want to see. Do we have anything from the engineer stamped, physically stamped? I saw that he had this document, and it has his State of Connecticut stamp on it. I'm assuming it's James, the fellow on the TV there.
Yeah,
Yes, this is my conclusion, which is right on the bottom over here, which I stand by. And that house is just fine. That slab is just fine. I am stating that for the record. I have been inside that house. I have stood on that slab. I make sure that before I talk about things, I've looked at it. I've looked at this. It's fine.
It's not about the slab.
Any further questions of the commission right now for the applicant? Because I'm going to open it up for the audience. Nothing? Okay. So is there anyone in the audience to speak in favor or against or neutrally? Yes, sir? If you want to come, if you guys could step off so he can come up and have the
Motion to open the public
podium for a minute.
Can you open the public hearing? You don't open the public hearings? Well, I don't, it's open because it automatically is.
It's open because we read the thing. Yeah, there's nothing else to do. Name and address for the record, sir, and tell us what you want to
My
do.
name is Ed Cowan, and I live at 101 Fairfield Road, right on the very corner of Fairfield Road and Oliver. And that house that's in question is right across the street from me. I have a couple of things. First of all, I'm not usually a person to come up and talk to somebody, but first of all, I wonder how this gentleman got to build this house without the basement. Let me clear my own mind. This does have a basement now, or it does not have a basement now?
we can't interact with you. You got to just give us a statement.
Oh.
We're not here to answer your question.
Oh, you're not?
No. We're here to take your testimony, though, or whatever you want to tell us. So
Okay.
feel free to talk.
All right. Well, they said that, you know, that it would cost them money. Well, when I bought my house, okay, I paid $8,000 to have it waterproofed. And everybody in my neighborhood probably has done the same thing because it's such a high table. I can't believe they're still building houses in that section with the water table where it's at. And this gentleman that is on the screen here, if I'm not mistaken, he said that the water could run down the driveway and run down the road and go into the Connecticut River. Well, at 0 degrees, and that water's running down that road, how many accidents do you think is going to happen coming around that corner? At my house, I've had 4 accidents, people coming down Oliver Road. I know it has nothing to do with this house, but I need to explain a couple of things, safety-wise also, of what a lot of people don't look at. But I don't understand how he got to build this, and now he wants to not be able to have to put in a basement where everybody else does or did. Why is he so special? And I don't even know this gentleman. But I've seen water coming off of that property, whether they visited or they didn't visit it. And if I'm understanding, they're supposed to build another house on that corner, if I'm correct in saying that, because there is a for sale sign right at that corner. And the driveway that they built for this existing house here, the people in the morning or even at night, okay, come around that corner going up Oliver. They're doing 50, 60 miles an hour, and those trees are right in the way. They may be moving them or cutting them down. I don't know for the future. But to me, that's another safety factor that people are not looking at for this house. So since you can't answer my questions, and I can only give you what my thoughts are, I don't know how many people received this letter that I received, but nobody else showed up. And I'm really surprised I'm even up here talking to you, to tell you the truth.
Well,
But-
thank you.
But I resent having this person get away with not having to build a basement when he can waterproof it himself or dig drainage dishes around it and have it taken away from the house. So I'm done. Thank you very much for your time.
But can we ask him questions? Do you have water in your
suppose so.
basement?
I guess.
Marianne, I do not now, I don't have now, but I did have.
Do you have a sub pump in your basement?
I did now, but I had to remove my old 275-gallon oil tank and put a brand new upright 275-gallon oil tank so I can have the sump pump put in the corner of the basement. And do you know the thing hasn't run since I put it in, which is fine with me.
Yeah, that's true.
But I still but you know, I'm going to tell you, since I put the sump pump in, I had no water. But since they built the 2 houses across the street, this one and the one on post office that's right behind his, is that, and I'm not an environmentalist, but somehow it's raising that water table because now I get just a little stream of water that I wasn't getting before these 2 houses were built.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address us on this matter? Seeing none, the applicant come back and give us whatever rebuttal they may wish.
Reinhard von Hollander, Heron Homes. I can respond to, there's no house being built on this, other house being built on this. This is a 2.9 acre site. There's one house. The sign that he's speaking of is on the corner just for realtor promotional types of things. So there's not another house being built. So. Yeah. So I think the gentleman that spoke confirmed that there's, a water table issue in that area.
You also want to say the building department.
Further questions of the commission?
And
I just want to make one point that
statement.
there was a bill case again. There have been additional building inspections since the framing has gone up. The framing was inspected. So the building department has been to the property more than just for the footings. Is that
Right,
the question?
and I'm saying the same thing. You didn't build to the plans that you brought to planning and zoning, or whoever you brought them to, that says, I'm going to build a raised ranch. You then started to excavate, changed your plan, didn't come back to the planning office, but then went ahead and built a house on a slab. That's what you're telling me.
well, so there is my understanding of the zoning is that if 50% of the house has coverage of up to 4 feet, 50%, that satisfies that requirement.
Are we talking about the dirt you're going to backfill to the back of the house? Is that what you're
The
talking
material that's brought up and around it,
to
it
make
was our understanding that it satisfied it, and we were told then that it didn't satisfy it, and that's why we're here.
Who told you that? Who asked you to put the dirt there, and who told you it wasn't satisfied?
We consulted with our engineers folks to understand what the requirement was, and from building in the past, and just as recently as 100 Post Office Road, Mr. Rochelle required that we have the engineer specifically call out the coverage, because it's basically a slab on grade because it's a walkout. Okay, so the front of it's high artificially because the prior developer brought in, the person that I bought the lot from at 100 Post Office brought a lot of material in. So the walkout is basically slab on grade, okay, at 100 Post Office. We had to demonstrate there that we had over or up to a 50%, or we could have no less than 50% coverage around the foundation.
Do you have a picture of the back of the house?
The back of which house?
I think she's asking the house that you're here before us.
75 Oliver? It's,
No, I don't have a picture of I have a picture of the side.
Yep, we got the side. we
I
got
have
the
a
front.
corner.
okay, so if you
I have
could-
a front.
There's a front with 100 Post Office.
I'm looking at the same picture that's on.
Right. So 100 Post Office in the back.
You're thinking like of a picture from that house.
No,
That
I'm
way.
looking for a picture that's the back of this house.
Yeah, so if this is the front, I
This
think
is the front.
she's saying
Yeah,
like if
I-
you
Where's
were
back?
looking from that house behind
We-
this.
we
I
don't
want to see
have
what
one.
you're talking about as a walkout. I own both types of houses, one on a slab and one with a walkout. So, and I'm just trying to understand what you're trying to explain to me. Because what I really want to know is, and only from my own experience, your water is to stay with you. You can pipe it off and do underground stuff. But as far as I understand, your water is not supposed to be going on other people's property or into the road.
It's not.
That's what
It's
I
a
want to
2
know.
point-
That he said it. I'm just bringing it back to him.
It's a
I wrote it down.
2.4 acre site. There's no water leaving this site at all. The site is very large.
You just got done telling me that it goes down your driveway and into the street and onto the Connecticut River.
No, he said that. I didn't say
You
that.
said that.
No.
Okay.
I think
I
we're
wrote-
getting a little sidetracked.
Jim
on
didn't
this.
say
We're
that.
not- We're not in control of the water or the detention.
That's the way the
or any of
property
that.
drains.
Trying to say that the reason he needs this slab is because he's got too much water on this property.
No, we have
No,
a high
that's
water
different.
table.
Saying two different things.
Yeah.
Maybe the engineer can speak to it. Jim, could you speak to that, please?
Yes, there is a very clear difference between surface waters, which are just going to drain away, and groundwater. Now, groundwater, like I said, is this underground lake, and it just does not drain, and it does rise higher during certain events, certain years. Groundwater will vary from year to year, which is probably consistent with the testimony of the neighbor saying that he had water problems in the past, but not recently since he did the work, which is totally understandable because every 10 years, every 20 years, every 25 years, you will have different weather conditions, and then the groundwater will be much higher, and his sump pump will be definitely paying for itself. So that is the hardship here, is a geologic hardship, the fact that underground, there is this underground reservoir, and that's just a geologic fact. And that is unique to this property. It was not created by the owner. In my opinion, having done this for 50 years, it is a perfect correlation with how the courts have interpreted proper zoning variances.
Yeah.
Just want to ask you to be careful when you say that the basement will not flood. My house is up on a hill, and 3 years ago when we had all the rain, first time in 20-something years, we had water come in, right? Water will always find the way. So with that said, we're not here for the water issues. It is obviously a concern with the neighbors, right? That is not what we're here to look at. We're here to look at the variance you've requested. And to Commissioner Turner's perspective, we're a few days late on that request, whether it's from your doing, the town's misunderstanding, or lack of understanding what was going on. And that's really the bigger issue here is, what can we really do based on what's sitting on that property right now? There's a house, it's on a slab, that seems like the right thing to do. And to Ms. Witten's perspective, right, it would have been asked for if it was figured out in time. Right? So now we're left with this house on the slab asking for a variance, and this commission is limited in what we can do and why we can do it. That's the ultimate issue here, if I have that right, Mr. Chairman.
That's a fairly accurate synopsis, I think.
I mean, the wetlands approvals are the wetlands approvals. They deal with the water flow and runoff, and to your point earlier, based on the plan, the house is at or above the street level. I want to concede that point to you because that's what the plans show. I drive by that lot probably 3-4 times a week on my way to the highway. I saw that you fixed the driveway. I don't know if it was summertime or whenever, but it was fixed because I remember it being flooded. I haven't seen it flooded lately, before the snow at least. But again, we're not here for the water issues. Right? The concern we have, of course, is what's going to happen with whoever owns this house in the future being on a slab, and what we have to decide as a commission to approve a variance or to deny the variance. Right? So I'll stop there. I welcome anything you want to ask me, but again, the concern for me is we've got a house there that we're kind of put in a bind with what we can do based on our rules and our policies.
Further questions of the commission? Staff?
So the variance request is to not have a basement. The reason and the hardship that is claimed is because there's high water table. The neighbor has claimed that there is water in his basement, or there used to be. He's fixed it, and that's kind of living proof that there is a problem with putting a basement in that area. So whether he's asking for this now or before, I'm not sure if timing is what you should be focusing on. Yes, it was not proper, but the question is this a valid variance request?
and I'm going to reiterate something, so we're in a position where the house is there. And whatever happened on the town side, not blaming staff, but something happened in the communication, in the build-out, the planning, whatever it was, the house is built. Zoning variances happen before action is taken, typically. Ideally.
Right.
And I
Ideally
think
and
probably
typically.
everybody was on notice that this site was extremely wet. The litigation history of the lot, the town owning it, the fact that it was sold below value because it was wet. So that's all part of that too.
And the fact that you're a professional builder. I know you have built more than one house in this stripped area, and you've probably built them in other places. And as soon as you started digging, you realized your problem. I'm just surprised you didn't stop before you got a roof on this thing.
Again, I was relatively confident that we would satisfy the 50% coverage ratio of the foundation.
Okay, hang on a minute. Lori, can you explain what he's trying to tell me about a 50%? It's either a basement or it's not a basement.
I don't have my regulations with me. So basically,
You need is it in the book?
So 50% of when you have to put it in a basement, you have to dig down from existing ground. You can't just like
You can't bring in the
put
grade.
a house flat on the ground. You have to dig down to create a basement. 50% of that has to be covered with like 4 feet of fill. So it's not showing like from the outside. So that's kind of what it is. And what we found is, so what happened was he gave us a plan that actually showed a basement. It showed it. That was what was approved. And then subsequently, he kept building, so he got approval for that. He kept building and did not come back in when he realized that he was not going to be able to put a cellar in.
I just find it very odd that you'd not know you couldn't put a basement in, and you came in with a plan. You're a professional.
So, here's the thing. So
Oh, she has, I know.
Enfield's regulation that speaks to the 50% coverage is unlike any other town in the state of Connecticut. It's very unique
That's
to
true.
the state of Connecticut, to this town.
So can we just assume that this house, you said that you don't have anything from the building department that says this house is sturdy and that for the next, hopefully,
It's not what we're here to.
it may not be, but you're telling me, you're asking me to give a variance on something, and I would have asked the questions before. I'm worried about 10 or 20 years when a next young owner comes along.
That is up to the building department. The question is this a legal hardship request? The variance request, is it a legal request, and is the hardship reasonable?
It does not say that we cannot ask
You
for
could
the
ask
building
questions,
department to put a letter into the file that says this house is,
We can ask the building department to create that, but that's just not that's not part of the typical variance
that
request.
doesn't make a difference what's typical. It could be something that
I
we
understand.
could say,
You don't-
we could delay this until we get a couple of documents to put in the file.
That's fine.
And one of them is one of them that I have is the groundwater hardship thing with his stamp on it, which is important to me because that was one of the things I was going to ask for. So you got one. Because the thing is, if he had come in and asked for the variance and we had granted the variance, he would have had to go back, give you a plan, and then you folks would have made sure, including wetlands, that the future homeowner would not be having a problem.
And that's actually what did occur.
Give it to me in writing then.
What do you want in writing?
want
That
what
we,
you
that
just
we
said.
did
You
our
said-
that we went through the process? What do you want to see each plan? What is it
No,
that
I
you're
want
actually
to
asking
see
for?
a letter from the building department that tells me this house has been built to the specs it should have been, so that there's not going to be a problem 20 years from now. And I can't guarantee. How long do you guarantee your homes?
Statutorial in Connecticut is 1 year.
Okay.
There's the engineering with the raised seal that does say that the water is being handled properly. I think that addresses your concerns. And the engineer,
Building plans are
engineer
signed
has
off by
spoken to
an
that
engineer.
as well, in addition to articulating the reasons for the hardship.
You know, I'm hearing a self-imposed hardship. That's what I'm hearing.
No, the
I
hardship is
understand the
actually
pro-
caused
the-
by the geological conditions of the site, and that's been the testimony that you have. It's just the timing. We understand the timing is not exactly proper, but this would be the same testimony that would have been brought if the timing had been done in the way that you would have liked it, or we all would have liked it. But the fact of the site being unique, that the impact is going to be in harmony with the neighborhood, and that this is a reasonable use are all satisfied here by the testimony that's been provided to you.
But our rules, 4.10.2, are very clear that you have to build a basement, unless you're a modular home. You're not.
That's correct.
So
That's
here's
why
the
we're here for
question.
the variance.
Would, you know, I understand. This is a self-imposed hardship. Yet, at this time. Because the thing is, it's going to cost you a lot of money to take that house down. So, that's where I'm frustrated. I'm not looking at a young guy who bought a lot and decided to build a house and he just hoped he'd build it right. I'm looking at a professional builder.
Anything else from the commission? Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing?
Do we have a second?
I'm sorry,
Staff?
I'm sorry, I heard that Chairman Turner would like to have more additional information. If you close the public hearing, that cannot happen.
We can't request it as part of or
No.
contingent of.
No, but we can close the hearing.
No, because then the
close
applicant
hearing
doesn't
and
have a
vote,
chance
or
to
No, I would actually,
discuss it.
You can ask you can,
I'm going to withdraw my motion to close public hearing.
thank you. I would like,
have a motion to propose.
I would like us to table this until we get a letter from the building department clearly stating that this house was built to code the way we need it to be, without the basement. I'm not exactly sure what you would have built if we came here in the right order, because I don't know if the town would allow it to build without a basement, but I'm going to assume that this document we have right in front of us with the seal on it is the one talking about the water from here, because one of my question was, do we have an engineering report? This would be considered that it wouldn't be coming from our town engineer.
No, that's
Certified.
their engineering
No,
report,
this is
and
the engineering
he
report.
swore to it on video, Marianne. You're not going to change that.
I wanted one with a stamp and I got it.
Yeah.
I still want one from the town. So I'm asking us to postpone this to our next meeting, where that the building department could bring us a letter.
From the town, just the building department, not wetlands or anything on that side?
I'm more than happy to see what Wetlands has to say, but I'm more
not our
interested in the building.
jurisdiction.
Well,
More interesting.
neither is the building department.
The building department will tell us that it was all built to spec, because this is, I understand, folks, that this is a hardship due to land, but right now, it's a self-imposed hardship. If he had come here when it was still land, then we have one answer.
I mean, I think
We will
that's-
get you a letter.
My point, that's just my opinion.
We will
I
request
just want to go
a
on the
letter.
record one more time. This is not a self-imposed hardship. This is due to the geographic conditions and geological conditions of the site.
The building department will tell you that they do not require cellars. It doesn't matter to them whether they have a cellar or not. But that's a building code issue, not a zoning code issue. But I will have the letter from the building department that says that this structure was built to code.
Well, I think we have a motion on the floor, so are we going to vote on that?
The motion to table this
Table.
until the next official meeting,
Right.
next regular meeting?
Correct.
So that would be
2 weeks.
Who made the motion?
Mary Ann made the motion.
Mary Ann?
And you second it.
Second?
Second that.
But we have not taken
Rich
a vote.
Stroini? Thank you.
Can we have a vote on that? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? None. Motion passes. We're
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
continued.
Hang on to your packet if you have paper like me.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to IT about why this can't connect to the internet in the town council chamber.
It's not the first one I've heard that about.
Works fine at my house, but that's not helpful for,
Here, I think we're supposed to take copies of those.
okay. So moving on with our agenda, we have approval of minutes from the December 15 meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor? Motion passes. And correspondence and staff report, so I'm guessing this contact sheet was from staff for us to look at, just verify that our info's correct.
Mr. Chairman, to staff,
Sure.
there were no legal notices or pending legal action? Because we didn't get that in the packet, did we?
No,
No.
the attorney report.
The attorney report. See one this month.
We usually
Because
just
this is
put
a special meeting.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
this-
This is a
but the-
special
The town
meeting.
attorney gave us a report for December, from
but we
December for
usually-
January, so we should get the town
Yeah.
attorney's
Got it.
report in
Okay.
the next packet. This is.
If we could get your tablets to work, we would just put it in the master packet at this point, but,
The tablets work, it's the internet that we're having trouble with. They don't connect.
okay. So are you able to use Civic Clerk and all of that at this point?
Yeah, oh yeah, I can go
If
through
you,
everything.
if you had internet, you could just go onto the town webpage and
Yeah, and
even
I
get
can
it
save
through
my
there.
notes and do
Okay.
everything right on
So
here.
Civic Clerk is working for all of you? Yes? No?
I'm looking at something on my laptop that's not on the iPad.
Now, I know Sandy was helping you for a little bit, right?
I have to come in and see that.
Okay. To IT?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I just
Yeah.
started a new account with the town email address.
Okay,
It works fine.
okay. And how about you, Marianne?
I use my computer in my house. I can't just leave that thing sitting on the desk.
Okay.
Is there something on that that's different from what I can see if I look at the town website on my laptop?
If you go in with your laptop, you could go in as a commissioner, and you have access to make notes and stuff like that. Otherwise, you could just view it if you go into the main webpage and go into agendas of whatever the meeting is. And you could print it, yeah.
Right, so this would save them from delivering physical paper,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to keep your notes all in one place if it would reliably
If it would
connect to the
work,
internet.
and if we had internet.
And you guys got the notice about the March 26th dinner at AquaTurf, so I hope you plan to attend. Would you please answer Donna if you haven't?
Yeah, I think Lori could probably take.
Yeah, Donna's could be sending out the invites.
Yeah, she
any
sent it
day now.
today.
Okay, I'll-
that out today.
Yeah.
I'll
She sent
reply
it
to
out
her.
today. Yes, reply to her.
Not a problem. Any other business for anybody? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, we got something? Oh, yeah. No, we can do that today.
I nominate, which one you need to do first? Is there an order?
Any order you want to go in?
I nominate Andrew Abanowitz as chair.
Second.
All those,
No,
in-
she's got the second, Lori.
Second, yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I nominate Rich Droney as vice chair.
Second?
All those in favor? Your turn.
I nominate
Hold,
Commissioner.
hold on, so that was Marianne nominated Rich
Andrew
Droyny?
and Rich.
Oh, Andrew, and then,
then Rich.
Then-
and then Rich, and, okay. But she had you as second, right? You
I
said-
seconded Marianne for Andrew, yes.
Okay,
Andrew seconded Marianne for me.
okay,
I think that's what you're missing.
yep,
Your turn.
that's exactly it.
I nominate Commissioner Turner for secretary.
Second. All those in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you
Okay,
very
All
much.
back in the building.
Now, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. We are adjourned.